Hello and welcome to Amethyst Star Crafting. My name is Jane Allmark and I'm a UK independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. And today we're looking at, there's me just having caught it with my jumper and thrown it on the floor. We're looking at dies. We're using Highland Heather and Gorgeous Grape because I'm going to do it in purples. So I'm going to put that out to one side. We're using the Quiet Meadow. And we're using the Meadow dies, and the Meadow dies are absolutely lovely because you have all of these silhouettes, but we're going to actually make them real flowers rather than silhouettes. There's some lovely little label ones, we're going to use those, and it's a combination of both of these, the dies and the stamp set, but doing something a little bit different with the dies. So I have taken, we're going to do one, if I have time we'll do more than one, but what I've done is I've die cut it out twice. So I've die cut it out in green, this I think is mint macaron, and I've die cut it out in pink, and I think this is, oh I don't know, it's a scrap that I had it out from my pinks. But it's going to be purple and it's going to be a darker green. So on this one to start off with, I have taken some sponge daubers and I'm going to use some of the dark greens. Now I'm not even going to re-ink them. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my sponge dauber and I am going to just start by giving a bit of colour onto this because it's quite delicate. You don't want to press too hard, so we are actually going to be using some, whoops, see what I mean? We are going to be using our blends because it's easier on this bit to use blends than it is on if it's a larger shape. A larger shape we might be able to use all the sponge daubers, but I've taken dark mossy meadow because what I want to do is I want to have a dark shadow down one side, so I always choose my right hand side. So I'm literally just taking the blend and just drawing up in on this right hand side, up on these petal parts on here, and that's going to be underneath there, so we can do it on there and we can do it on the inside of this one like that. And then I'm going to take, I've got light granny apple green, which I'm going to just sort of, I'm taking it from the other side so I can do it gently, so I can just colour that in over the top, because I can blend it through on that bit. I'm holding it quite gently because I don't want it to go in too much and pull it apart, because as I say, this is quite delicate, so you need to be a little bit careful with it, not overly cautious. And I'm doing this before I start putting the other ones on. We can always add some extra colour in, but that's given us the two colours and a bit of blending going through. Now I also want to get some highlights in there, so I've taken our white chalk marker, and this is then going to go down on this outside piece on here to just give this some light. So I'm just going round on there just to give it a little bit of light, and then if I come in on this side, I can come in on here, and because we started with a green to start off with, might be a little bit of light down on the top of here, it means that it all sort of tones in quite nicely. A little bit of light on there, and maybe a little bit of light on the top of there. Okay, so that has given us, give it a little bit of a wipe through, that's given us the stems, and you can see the stems already are very different to how they were, which was sort of two-dimensional. Now we're going to take the flower part, and again I'm keeping it together at the moment. We are going to be cutting it out, and this is where I'm going to do the yellows and things on here, and the you know, brighten it up with the colours. So I'm going to take the gorgeous grape, and I'm going to take some gorgeous grape sponge dauber. And I'm literally, again, just going to do it here so we can just take the colour in on here. And again, just do it delicately. You can see I'm doing it in one direction only. If you do it backwards and forwards, because it's quite a delicate die cut, you might end up really sort of splitting the paper and making a right, not being able to use it. So I'm literally just deepening the colour on here. Like that. So that's come quite purple, which is what I wanted. Now I'm going to take some, I have got the Highland Heather, dark Highland Heather, and I'm going to take that, which is the blend now, and I'm just going to take it from the centre. You can see there's sort of dimensionals in there. I'm going to take that from the centre and just bring some of it out. So I'm just getting a little bit more colour coming through on here. Then this one is, yes, that's the centre. You can see the little centre part of it. So again, I'm just coming out into, from the centre out through on the petals. This one, I'm just going to take it from the bottom darker, and this one because it's the bud, and then this one again from the centre just up each one of the petals. And that's coloured that in quite nicely. So that's just made it a little bit darker, which is what we want, because the blends will, will make it darker. Then we can take our chalk marker again, and the chalk marker is going to come on the top. So we can just make a little bit so that it's quite just sort of pale up in on the top. And then on the tips of each of these little petals, just get a bit of light, and you can see the using a coloured cardstock at the base, it just gives that little hint coming through, which is what you want. So I'm just taking it on the edge of these petals here, like that. And then I'm just going to take the centre of the flower where there is a little dot on it, and I'm just taking it through so you've got that dot. And then I just need to just clean the brush off so make sure I haven't got the purple on it. So now what we need to do is we need to take our, and I've got some very fine needlework scissors for this. You could use the paper snips if you want to, but it is quite tiny, so you need to make sure that you're just cutting them out very carefully. In fact, that one can stay on there. That we'll take these two in together. So I'm literally just separating the flower from the stems in on this bit, and I can actually put all three of these in together on here because they're joined and they will work perfectly on there. So Let me just get a little bit of wet glue, and I'm going to take the wet glue and take it in on this one. And this is, you know, when you do a die cut, sometimes this is great as a silhouette, but if you don't want to just use it as a silhouette, just by using a little bit of colour, you can actually make it look almost realistic. I say almost. If you're a better artist than me, you probably could make it look almost, you know, make it look realistic, depending how good your colouring is. But I'm just showing you from a, you know, a novice's point of view, how you can get those colours to come up. So on this one, I need to take this, and I'm taking it just down to where it, the little bit of the top of the bud part is, and then we can just get a little bit of, whoops, a little bit too much came out there. Normally I'm struggling to get any glue out with my glue, as you know, but this is it's not quite as cold today. It's still, I've still got a thick jumper on. We're in April now, and it's still, the wind is blowing like a hoolie out there, so it's not nice at all. So I have a thick jumper on because I have my wood burner on in the evening, but during the daytime I'm not going to be putting the heating on because we're in April. You know, you get to the point where you think, actually, I just can't have the heating on anymore. So it's off. So I have thick jumpers on instead so that I don't get chilly. Okay, so we can take this one in on here. Just wet glue's the best for this because you can do a bit of wiggling around to make sure it comes where you want it. Okay, I can just go to the other side and make sure that they're where they should be. But you can see now you've got a really rather good looking three-dimensional flower that looks like a flower now. And if we want to just add a little bit more colour, we can do. So in on this one, I think I'm just going to add a little bit more dark in on the side here. So just want to take some more up in on here because I really quite like having that dark shadow. When it then comes up onto the we put it onto the cardstock, you then have that really nice dark coming through, which is rather good. And then, as I say, we've got the light coming through on the other side, but I think that's probably enough of the light. Now, where I've done this in the white in the centre, I'm actually going to take it a little bit more. So now that it's dried, I'm just going to take it again because I quite like it quite bright in here. So again, the chalk marker, you can build it up a bit so that you get a really nice little white piece in the centre. And again, I can just do over the sides of the leaves as I'm getting it up to just give a little bit more definition. Now they're down on there. So we have this pale coming through, which makes it look beautiful. And then up on the top of here. And you can do it in, so I'm not doing it quite as far down, so you've got sort of 2 or 3 different tones coming in, and the light right at the edge on here, which I think looks quite nice. So again, you know, just add where you want it, but it just gives that really pretty look to it and makes it look far more three-dimensional. Okay, so now what I might do is come back and do another card and show you how I've coloured in some of the other ones. But for now, we're just going to finish this one off because I want to do a beautiful card with this. So what I have done is I have taken, that's now finished. I've taken a piece of gorgeous grape as my background, and you can see I've cut the little tag from there. So this is going to go in on top like that, so we can glue that on straight away. So this, just going around the edges, don't need to go into the center because I've cut a little piece out of there and I don't want that to come in. I always do a 1/4 inch border because I like to be able to see my border. Entirely up to you. I don't give measurements because, you know, depending where you are in the world, your card is, paper is slightly different. Now this piece is an inch smaller all the way round, so whatever size you're doing, cut yourself another panel which is an inch smaller all the way round. That's what we're going to work on now. And as I said about the tag, I've done, tag is in the Meadow dies. I've done one, stamped it with the love, which is in the Quartz Meadow, and done one in a coordinating gorgeous grape, and we'll use that in a minute to finish off the card. So on this bit we have got in the Quartz Meadow, let me just go into the Quartz Meadow now. Okay, so that's the little love I was telling you about. This is the words. I really like these because they're gardening sort of words, growing, gardening, glowing garden, but they are just slightly taken out, so they give that distressed look, which I really like. So by cutting the paper like this, I know that this is going to come straight across. So I'm going to be using, I want it slightly lighter, so I'm going to use the Highland Heather rather than the Gorgeous Grape, both of which go together beautifully. So I'm just going to ink this up. Now it doesn't matter whether it is upside down, the wording, or not, because we can turn it when we've finished. All we need to do is to make sure that the first one comes just slightly off. And then we're going to line it up and take it down again. And what I tend to do is I will just rotate it a little bit so that it comes in one direction and the other, so the words aren't exactly level. Although you do have the colour coming in, but it's not exactly in a line. It's slightly like that so that it looks a little bit more, oh, what do we call it? Less uniform, which is what we want. By the time you've got everything over the top of it, it really is just a background piece. So this now looks a little bit plain round the sides, so we need to take our Gorgeous Grape sponge dauber. Let's take that out. I think that'll do for Gorgeous Grape. Got quite a few purples now, so I don't have I have a sponge dauber for a lot of them, but not every single one. So what we're going to do is we are going to just go round the side. Always do the side first. Before I start going into the middle, or, you know, start doing it flat. I like to try and get just a fine border around the side first, which is going to be darker, and then I will turn round and add some more down like this. So I like to go in just a little bit, not too much, but just enough. But because I've already done the outside completely, that means that that's darker. So this is coming in and just gives a little bit of extra blending through, which is what I want. So you're just taking it through on here, and then the last bit up in on the top. Now you can do it as dark as you want. You can go around again if you want to. I think for me that is just about right. So we can now put this in. Now You can put as many pieces up with dimensionals that you want. Here in the UK, the postage has just gone up yet again. So it is not cheap to post anything, even, you know, second class now. So if it doesn't go through the tiny little slot, then it goes in as a large letter or parcel post, and then it's even more expensive. So this one is going to be completely without any extras on. Okay, so now we're going to have the flower that's going to come in on the center. What I want to do is, I have, as I said, I've die cut these two pieces out. I want to make sure that I have got this coming through on the hole. So I'm just going to put a little bit of wet glue on the top of it here, which will just allow it to go together. But I want to make sure that that hole is exactly lined up. And then I can just put it down so it's just slightly offset, so you get the other tag coming through. And then we're going to use some white twine. So I'm just going to take a little bit of white twine, don't need very much. And then I'm going to fold it in half. I'm afraid my fingers have got lots of ink on them now with all the blending. So this is going to go through the center like this, and hopefully it will just go through. Come on, little thing. It's the old camera, isn't it? As soon as you're on camera, it's never as easy. Okay, so I'm just going to tuck this in on here. And hopefully these pieces will come through like that. And then I'm just going to tuck it through underneath like that. Sometimes I'll do a bow with it, but I think I'm just going to have it through as a tag on this. So let's just glue this down. Oops, take all of these little pieces off. Make sure wet glue is very good for doing this because it just comes up where you want it to. And then we can put this one in down here in on the center like that. Now before I stick that down, I just want to have this coming through. What I can do is to just do it and just see if I can tie it in just a little knot. This is where you want to just fast forward it a little bit while I'm struggling doing a little bow piece. I don't think I'm going to get a bow. I think I'm just going to have a take it in on there. Right, let's stick that down first, and then I know that all I've got to do is to pull this in a bit. So that's stuck down nicely there. I've got glue on my fingers where I've been just doing those little bits. So I'm just going to take that in there. It's not big enough to do a bow in it, so I'm just going to tie a little knot. Like that. And then I can just take it off. We'll take that off there. Now you could do it in a bow if you wanted to. I just didn't quite cut enough, but it's fine as a little knot in there. And then all we need to do is to just put little tiny bit of glue in on here. Again, you could put a dimensional, but as I said, I'm trying to do some cards that are not going to be. Let's put that like that. Not going to take up a lot of postage because, as I say, postage has just gone up again. So you can see how beautiful that is, and the flower looks absolutely lovely. Now I'm going to show you another one that I did earlier on, which was my first example, which is this one, which again is literally just one of the others, and I cut the flowers and I did those with this was pink cardstock, and then I just did it with cherry cobbler and some pink blends and white on the corner. And again, this was done in Sahara sand, and then red to just complement it like that. So you can see how easy it is. Now there's another two in there, which is this one and this one. So I've done, I'll do another video and show you the colouring of those ones in different colours, so you can just see how it all blends together. But I hope you enjoyed those. I think they look absolutely lovely. I'm really pleased that I worked and did those colours in there. So as always, please stay safe and well, please be kind, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye bye.